What's going on YouTube? So I'm back for another day 2, I guess, of my diary in my lead up to the competition. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video where I kind of outlined some of the key focuses and things that I kind of think of, not only just the week leading up to the competition, but the previous weeks before in terms of what I'm actually focusing on from a nutritional standpoint, body weight, mindset, and training. So I spoke yesterday briefly about what I was going to be hitting in my Monday session before my competition on Saturday. And I mentioned that I was going to be running up and hitting a snatch, or trying to hit 3 singles at roughly what I'm going to be warming up to. And good news, yesterday I ran up and had a snatch session wearing my weightlifting suit and going through kind of the process of my pre-lift routine, and I managed to hit 135 kilos on the snatch, and it felt super comfortable, which is kind of the weight that I'm going to be hoping to open on Saturday's competition. Now, some of the things that were kind of going through my head in that training session yesterday was that when I was going through the session, lifting in the lifting suit first of all felt really weird, so it was really good to adjust to being back in the lifting suit. I also loaded the bar as best I could with competition plates for the session, and then made sure that my timings in between each set of my warm-ups was consistent, kind of aiming for around 2 minutes, which is roughly the sort of time that you'd have in between lifts, especially if you're going to be following yourself. I know for this competition coming up that there's a good chance I'm going to be following myself because the start list is there and I'm lifting the most weight. So I always say, as soon as you can get hold of the start list and actually be able to see where you are in comparison to other people that you're going to compete in at, it's going to give you a good idea whether you're potentially going to have extended weights in between your lifts on the competition day, or if you're going to be following yourself. So I knew I was going to be following myself. I'm going to have roughly 2 minutes in between lifts. There is one trick though that you can do if you are following yourself in a competition environment, is to, for example, if I was going to go from 135 to 140 for my second lift, what I can do is I can get them to load 137 kilos on the bar, or there'll be the 1 kilo increment that's automatically added to the bar if you make a successful lift. You can then change the weight up again, which causes the clock to stop while they load the bar. So that's just a little trick that you can do to kind of extend your rest periods in between your lifts in a competition environment if you're following yourself and you need a little bit more of a breather. So that's just a technique, especially if you have a good coach or a coach with you there on the day, that they'll utilize to give you a little bit more time. Now, when I went through my training session and I got to the 135, I didn't miss any of my lifts, which was really cool. And however, when I got to the 135, it felt so easy and it was the best lift. One part of me in my head wanted to go to 140 just because I wanted to see that I could still do it. And this is a common mistake, like I mentioned yesterday, that a lot of people make when they get into the final sessions leading up to the day, is to try and prove to themselves that they're in good shape and they want to hit roughly what they want to hit in competition. Now, if you're in that scenario and potentially you go for that, I went for that 140 and I missed it, I'm going to be then leaving that Monday training session thinking, damn, I went for the 140, I missed it. I want to try and do 145 at the competition, so that's no good. So always remember to try and go in with that plan on that Monday session and stick to it. Leaving the gym feeling fresh and motivated for that competition on the Saturday is extremely important. So now we're on the Tuesday morning of the week leading up to my competition, and first thing I did when I got up this morning was check my body weight. Now, I always find that in the competition week, I have a little bit more nerves and I tend to drop weight naturally because I'm a little bit more conscious of it. I purposefully yesterday had a slightly smaller meal portion. Like I said, I had chicken, mashed potatoes, and some veg in my lunchtime meal. And then in my evening meal, I only had a very small, it wasn't a very small portion, but it wasn't a massive portion of food for my evening meal. And I ate a little bit earlier, okay? Which meant that I went to the toilet before I went to bed and actually lost a little bit more weight over my nighttime period, and woke up this morning at 96.3, which is the lightest I've been recently. I would normally as well in the evening, because I'm a big chocolate fan, have a little bit of chocolate. I didn't have any chocolate yesterday as well. So I'm kind of sitting at 96.3 and feeling good for having that slightly smaller meal and a slightly healthier lunch option than I normally would, okay? Now, in terms of my morning, woke up, I've had my protein shake that I would normally have. I normally have 1 scoop of oats, 2 scoops of protein, a banana, some ice cubes, teaspoon of peanut butter and water for my breakfast. I've had that. I feel nicely fueled now, and I'm thinking about going to the gym and doing my training session for the day. For this second day out, which is my Tuesday before my competition week, the focus of this training session is to move fast. Okay, so in this session, what I'm going to be doing is doing some power lifts. So I'll do power snatch and power cleans at a lightweight. So kind of aiming for power snatches at 110 kilos and power cleans at 140. And I'm just going to be doing singles. I never do too much volume on the competition week because I don't want to fatigue myself. And then I'm going to be following up today's session with a front squat session. Okay, so I want to be working up to roughly 90% or a little bit more than what I'm going to be hoping to clean and jerk on the given day of the competition, which for me is going to be 185. So I'm going to run up to around a 200 kilo front squat for a single today, or 190 kilos for a single today, and try and make it really fast. Okay, I'll only do 1 single on that, and that will kind of round out today's session. Now, because of the way that this week has fallen, tomorrow I'll probably have a little bit of a rest day. On the Wednesday, probably do some light conditioning and some bodybuilding. Nothing too intense, but I will still move and do kind of my more CrossFit-y training. And then on Thursday, I'll actually do a clean and jerk. So that'll be my last kind of lift 2 days out before the competition. Now, on that clean and jerk day, I won't go quite as heavy. I'll kind of run up to around 170 kilos on that Thursday session, before then having Friday as either a complete day off or a real light moving session. So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more as we progress throughout the week. But I think the key things for me today was start the week, making sure that my body weight dropped and working out how much I dropped over the session. Finishing Monday with a really good heavy singles session on my snatch and finishing the session there, not doing any pulls because I don't want to fatigue my back. And then today, focusing on moving fast and smashing through some light power snatches so I feel snappy on the day. Just a quick tip whenever you're doing power snatching or whenever you're working with a weight that's relatively light for you, make sure you still keep the discipline in the first phase of the lift. When I talk about being fast, I'm actually focusing on change in speed. So the first phase of the lift is still under control, but the change in speed past the knee is accelerating. So that's how I judge fast when I'm talking about my Olympic lifts. So I hope you enjoyed today's diary. Like I said, I'm just kind of spitting out the things that are going through my head in this lead up to the competition and kind of the little fears and worries and things. And I hope that you kind of take a lot away from this, and this could be hopefully beneficial for you whenever you do your first competition or any performance really. Do me a favor, please like, share and subscribe this. I really want to build this channel over 10,000 subscribers, which would be sick by the end of this week with this little series, just so I can start to continue to give you guys a little bit more of an insight into what's going on in my head and the long form content that you don't get to see on any of my other socials. So big love guys, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you tomorrow for another diary entry.